our desire for this was, making sure that the Ylopo users that don't run a team, we want to make sure that you guys are getting the information you need to find success. I think sometimes it's hard to reverse engineer what a successful larger team. And so one of the things that we did when we were looking at doing this webinar was, who do we have that is out there doing the work? They are, they got their sleeves rolled up, they're calling leads, they're converting them. They can speak to some of their best practices. And what I'm really excited about with these three in particular is each of them have just a really different and interesting story, different backgrounds. But what all of them have in common is a real desire to kind of speak to that agent that's struggling. When we were talking about content, I didn't tell you guys this, but when I brought up, I said, there's going to be agents on this webinar that might be struggling financially. They don't know where their next closing is coming from. All three of you, your eyes lit up as soon as I said that. Like you were like, oh, I have been that person. Like I cannot wait to help that person. And so I'm just really excited that we have a group of people that their desire is to serve, their desire is to help others, and they're going to share in the weeds kind of things they're doing to realize revenue and realize just a successful career on the Ylopo platform.
I love it. Yeah. So with that, why don't we go ahead and just do some intros, just so kind of get people have an idea who you are, where your market is, a little bit about you. Andi, let's start with you.
I am in Lubbock, Texas. It's in the Panhandle. I'm single agent. I have my own brokerage. It's just me. I've tried the training and team, and it just wasn't for me. And I've been rocking and rolling, single for about 7 years.
Love it.
So,
Jim.
Awesome. Yeah. So Jim Hill from Raleigh, North Carolina. My wife Lori and I are a domestic partnership. We've both been realtors for just over 3 years. I was an engineer for 46 years. I started on a drafting board when I was 15 years old. Lori was a closing coordinator. She decided to get her license. I said, hey, I can do that. So for several years, I worked full-time engineering since I worked from home, and full-time real estate. And we've been with Ylopo for 18 months. There's a whole story about that. I won't go into it right now, but it's like we've gone from this crazy not knowing what we were doing to being just fantastic with Ylopo, and all thanks to the realtors and residents, in all honesty, and training. So
you mean me, not Gabe?
Actually, I mean Matt Patel, but hey.
And okay, shots fired. Shots fired.
Okay, so my name's Chris. I'm from the middle of nowhere, Ohio. The closest big city is Dayton.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I've been around the industry since 2009. I've been licensed since 2014. Worn a few different hats. Being a single agent is, I think, the best and the worst at the same time. And I'm excited to be helpful here because when you get this right, my big goal is when I get this right, I get to be a stay-at-home dad. And if I could share that, that's why I'm here today.
Wow, that's a big why.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, let's kind of, you teed it up. That was something like that we chatted with you guys briefly, not really, scripting this out or anything, but just kind of getting some ideas and stuff. And since you went there, well, maybe we'll work backwards now. That was something when we first chatted, you kind of talked about was kind of that why. And I think it's when you're a solo agent or a small team, but I'm sure there are times where because of that why, or because being on your own makes it difficult, and sometimes we lose sight of it. I'd love to go a little bit deeper there because you shared kind of about that and what you're doing, how it's driven you. I'd love to kind of just talk about that a little bit more and how it's helped you push forward.
Yeah. So I'll say that when done right, the reward has to be big. And my reward happens to be being a stay-at-home dad. And that's what drives the ship here, right? And so I've been a parent for 4 years. Her name is Scout. And she's kind of been my tag-along real estate agent until she started preschool. And so it definitely, like I even have her toys sitting on my desk right now. So And that reminds me of my whys, right? But my skill set, it had to be challenged to make that happen. And it all starts with finding what you can repeat and then talking with the right resources to grow those into automations and things. I think that answers the question, right?
Yeah, it does, right? I think sometimes we lose sight of that why and we know what we did prior and where we're going.
Just kind of how I got started. I was in accounting before this. My husband's been a mortgage broker for 20 something years, and he always just said, you need to get your license, you need to get your license. And certain circumstances, God happened when I was pregnant with my first child, and it just was laid off for maternity leave. They couldn't give me maternity leave, so I was kind of laid off, but I'd recently got my license. And so I was like, well, here I am doing this full time. My first year just trying to figure it out was a struggle. And then I was introduced to my systems, and Ylopo is one of them. And then I decided to go on my own and open up my own brokerage. And I knew this was a major component in that I had to have it if I was going to continue to be successful. And then it's just been a transformation of the growth and changes and technology and evermore. I mean, it's just amazing watching how it's changed since I've been using this over the years.
That's definitely changed.
Yeah. My why would just be, you know, my kids, our family, our household, just providing a better life than, you know, we had, being able to go on vacations. And that's one great thing about real estate. Yes, we do work 24/7 and we don't get off, but at the same time, I wrote contracts in the Bahamas, and closed
There
deals
it
in
is.
Jamaica. So, that just, and watching our kids, I mean, it just makes it so much worth it. And I can tell you, Ylopo is one huge component in it.
What I love about these, like, you know, especially in the real estate community, I think a lot of times we tend to make a big deal of the mega teams and the super teams. And with Jim, Chris, and Andy, is three very successful people that have a lot of clarity on their why. Like, you know, Andy, when you talked about writing offers from your face lit up, right? Like that was probably a really cool moment for you. Hey, Jim, did you want to?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
my why. I mean, I just said that I've been in engineering 46 years, right? And real estate and Ylopo helped me leave engineering. I was burnt out in engineering. Love helping people, just helping people when you find somebody their first house and literally they hug you and got people in tears because they're so happy.
Right.
But Ylopo, for me, game changer was I knew nothing about, I learned more about real estate and along with Ylopo than I ever thought possible. When we started with Ylopo, it seemed like I didn't know what I was doing. I went to the Vegas summit, and it just changed the whole thing. Really,
Yeah.
really, the light just went on. I was like, oh my God. And I started in the conference calls with Matt every day, and it was like, oh, game changer, right?
That's
Here you
awesome.
are, right? So that's for me was exciting. So
Yeah.
So, well, something that a couple of you mentioned and also came up, and I also just saw it in chat, is you all kind of just mentioned the tech and you know, repeatable steps and processes, things like that. And I think you all had different versions or ways you're doing that. So I'd love for you guys to share some of these, right? Again, I want everybody to have some takeaways as a solo agent or small team. When you're saying that, that's great. But what's an example, or what does that mean? And whoever wants to jump in. So I think that's really important.
I'll start. I just put my cheat sheet in the chat actually, which is all my stages and smart lists that I use. And I can't stress enough that getting your CRM, what I use Follow Up Boss, but getting your CRM set, that it is a step-by-step plan for your day every day, right? If people say I don't got enough time to follow up, but the fortune is in the follow up, and
Yep.
every single call is different from every other one. You treat every person has a different need. Some need a market report. Some need a information on homes, and it ends up all relationship, right? And so step by step, you use the Ylopo tools, every single one of them differently for every single person to me.
Okay. Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I know, I mean, hopefully, Gabe, I'm not skipping right to it, but I want to know how they're using the platform to make money. I'm sure other people do as well.
I can jump in on and build off of that, I think,
Okay.
on an academic level down to answering your question directly, Barry.
Yeah.
So it's all about finding what you can repeat and optimizing it. So as a single agent, we know, because we've all lived it on this call, that Ylopo is a Rubik's Cube. And just when you fix one side, the other side gets messed up, right? And so
Good
sitting
analogy.
down and figuring out the most basic pieces is, how do you write a repeatable routine? And then what do you keep repeating? So the one that I'm going to throw out, and I've kind of brought an example of what I use internally here, is a new lead comes in. What do you do? And I have found over the years of developing a good journal is key. That's step one. And then writing your routines out in the same format for every routine. So my format is, there's always an overview, then a step-by-step, and then next steps for evaluation purposes. And I kind of took that from Too Nice for Sales. But
Evo planner. Yeah.
yeah. And so, when you get to that level, and you have on all, what do you do when a new lead comes in? How do you nurture a lead? How do you show houses? How do you handle contract to close? That's the foundation of your business. Get those written out, get on Matt's calendar. Matt will help you build out automations from there. But it's so important to start analog and then rely on automations, because when you have it all analog, you can make sure your automations aren't ruining each other.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And I think a lot of agents that are they're selling and trying to run their business, which would represent the three of you, I think a lot of them are, they're too reactionary. I call it the tyranny of the urgent, where they don't have that plan that you just laid out, and they're literally just waiting for someone to email or call them so that they can react quickly. And so literally all day long, your day is defined by what others are asking of you, instead of, to what your point is, having that plan. I think that's awesome.
Procedures always work. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having a procedure in place for everything.
Says the engineer.
Yes.
I don't have procedures for everything. I just know we approach it that there are 4 pillars being a real estate agent. It's what do you do when a new lead comes in? What do you do to nurture that lead? How do you show houses? And how do you handle contract to close? And then past that, everything else is kind of case by case basis for us.
Yeah. So we've heard procedures, duplicatable, repeatable. How do you, your phrase exactly?
Repeatable routines.
Routines. I knew it was ours. Our repeatable routines. So we're talking about. Give me and I think everybody has the way they've leveraged the tech and have an SOP or a procedure. Can each of you kind of just give me one what's an example of one that you're doing, like an actual repeatable? Like, I know you have a couple opening scripts or things that you say that are easily repeatable or put into like some examples of what you guys are doing or using, so that it can be like, oh, because it's common sense, right? I think we create things and do it, and it becomes habit, and then we forget, oh, somebody may not have realized that is what I'm referring to as a repeatable routine or an SOP or procedure. So can we give them some examples of one that you've put in place within the tech to leverage your time and increase your business?
Yeah, so a lot of it comes down to scripts, right? And a repeatable routine is just a script with a playbook attached to it. So the best example I can think of is everybody gets the same initial phone call and text message. And then the repeatable routines that I think I wrote one to share today, this will be in there. But hi, this is Chris from Keller Williams. Just wanted to thank you for registering for my home search website. I'm sure you're not ready to move right away, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just curious, when you are ready, what's the first thing you would change about where you live now?
Almost identical to what we say. exactly right.
Yeah, it's
Excellent, Chris.
straight from
Yeah,
Barry's book.
it's straight from Barry's book, exactly.
Well, but because you clearly role played that or said it and have repeated it and it's become habit, it's really easy, right? And now I can, I can have this if I am forgetting that or have an admin, or if I am starting to build a team, that's even something I can create automation to put that script when a new lead comes in, right? Whatever it is, but you've done it so much, that's an easy, repeatable routine that you have created and made habit. What's one, Jim or Andy, that you guys, or leverage in the system, right? It even has to be scripting. What are something that is repeatable, or a procedure or process that you're leveraging to get more out of your time?
I would say one thing that's really helpful is the rAIya text and the rAIya calls. Being a single agent, I struggle every single day of making my calls and getting through my lists. And sometimes I'm even like, oh, was busy showing houses and I didn't get through my smart list, but then it makes me feel so much better about rAIya text and rAIya voice, because I'm like, well, at least phone calls are being made. And then two, when they respond back to rAIya, wrong number, or I'm like, well, that, saved me time. Let's go mark them as a bad number. I'll reach out to them and say, sorry that, it was a bad number. We'll get it marked in our system. And even, if they say not interested, well, at least I kind of know where they're at. And I'll still call them and I'd be like, hey, I know that you were talking to my assistant and you're not interested, and that's totally fine. I'd love to hear more about, what brought you on our website, all that stuff. And those two, I mean, there's so much more, but those two just help you leverage your time.
Yeah. So, okay. Because I want to pull out little things that I think you say that are just so easy, but I want to make sure people are catching this. So what it sounds like part of your procedure or repeatable routine is because you're leveraging, whether it's the AI text or rAIya voice, now instead of having to make all the initial calls or find out, is it a good number or is it even a real person, one of your repeatable routines is you're going in and identifying the real people, and that's who you're focusing your time on, versus identifying if it's a real person or a good number. And now that's your routine, and it saved you time to focus on a smaller group versus the math.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a smart list that, I have built out in Follow Up Boss, and you can see who replies to rAIya. And, you always are checking that, but that is a time saver. I didn't have to call this person 5 times to figure out that it was the wrong number, or, the automated texts that go out, the first text, and then the rAIya texting. And it's, quick responses, and it's like, and I'm getting text message notifications, they're responding to rAIya, and I'm like, this is somebody right now that is willing to talk. Pick up the phone right now. They're talking. So if they're not going to pick up the phone, text them. Like, they're literally responding right now. And I mean, they'll talk to rAIya. I had one this morning, I mean, just blowing up rAIya. And I'm like, I got to get in there and they just will keep going. And it's like, great. They're ready. They're ready to talk.
Right. So what's interesting about that, I think you had something, Jim, and I'm going to tie, Andy, what you were just saying, to pose one of the questions that came up. And guys, if you can, I'm trying to monitor through here. Throw the questions in the Q&A, but somebody asked, I think it was, where did it just go? Sorry, it slid. Oh, Janice. So do any of you have an admin, assistant, ISA, marketing? And I'm gonna have you guys answer that as you go, but it almost sounded like you're using rAIya as an assistant, whether it's voice or text. And then do any of you have an additional outside of that?
I do not. It's Lori and I basically following up. And that's what makes it tough as a single agent, because you got a million other things to do too, right? So
I do. I responded there in chat. I have one admin assistant, and her role, she's very vital to me. Her role is very focused on nurturing and making sure that the content is getting delivered to the end client.
And I have in the past, I've had an admin, I've had ISAs, I've had a social media person. And that is one thing too, I think a lot of single agents struggle with is, the money aspect of it and budgeting. And at the end of the day, my experience with ISAs is nobody's going to do it like I do it. Nobody's going to do it as good as I do it or perfectly how I want it done. The same thing with an assistant. And I was spending too much time on that. And so I don't have right now, but I will say rAIya voice and text is like an assistant reaching out, helping you, determine, like I was saying, who's ready right now or wrong numbers or whatever. And I think, I struggle back and forth. Like I need an ISA to help me make my phone calls. But then, the money aspect of it, is that really worth it? And I'm just, since rAIya voice came out, I mean, that's been a huge help.
Huge help. But on top of it, for me, an ISA it's a relationship business, right? So I always feel I want to develop the relationship. It's like I want these people to know me. I'm going to meet them. I'm going to be doing the work with them. So that's where I struggle with an ISA.
I love
I
that.
think Chris
Yeah,
though
and I mean,
has some plans in place for that though.
well, I think everybody struggles with that. It doesn't matter what size your business is. But I always go back, like, I don't have a problem that my dentist never answers the phone. I don't mind that my
Yeah.
dentist doesn't walk me back to my chair. My dentist doesn't clean my teeth. My dentist comes in and the hygienist says 3 and 4, or sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or the problem, and the dentist
point.
does only what they can do. So, but yeah, I think part of why all of you are successful is because you do care so much about the relationship. And that's the struggle with the automation piece too, that like we think that, oh, well, they're a big team, they can automate everything, it doesn't matter. But really, people are people. It doesn't matter the size of the business. We all struggle with how much can I get away with automating versus focusing on it. And what I always say, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, you're candid, like you can disagree with me, Jim, it's okay, like it makes for great ratings anyway, right? Would be having something like rAIya voice skims the surface to allow you the opportunity to spend time, instead of 8 hours to find 2 people, you can spend 8 hours on 2 people.
True.
But the 2 people that rAIya voice found, so you can do a custom video, you can take them out to coffee, you can spend all day on them instead of spending all day trying to find them.
True. Valid points, very valid points. But I use automations like drip campaigns. I mean, everybody is on a drip campaign one way or another,
Right.
whether they're stale or whatever they are. At the same time, the 10 days of pain, the 10 days of profit, right? I'm the one doing that calling, and I've set up 10 text campaigns and 10 email campaigns that I can pick and choose from depending on what the person is doing, right? So, and I switch in between all of those, whether I'm pushing listings on them or
Right.
or whichever, right? So
I'll
That's
jump in
awesome.
here to kind of further that you don't mind that your dentist doesn't answer the phone. We found a big win when we started utilizing Follow Up Boss to do group texts. So we have all of our repeatable routines are written to complement what rAIya is already doing. And my admin sends out lists of houses in a group text to me and them every day. And then I can jump in and say, hey, did you see this one? Or, hey, that list hasn't really changed a lot. Maybe we need to recheck your search criteria, but it's instead of it doesn't feel like I'm handing it off to an admin. The admin is part of us. And because there's an admin, then she can also do things like schedule showings. She controls all of our schedules, and we can always have someone at the office who gets it done so that I can be a stay-at-home dad. That's the end goal. When you get it right, you get to be a stay-at-home dad.
Good point. Those are good points.
Love that. I want to get some of the questions in here too. I want to trickle some of these in. Is just best practices that you guys are finding as solo agents. Raja asked, are you guys using any particular action plans within Follow Up Boss on the seller side, and maybe sharing what those are? Or even if it's not an action plan, I'll add to the question, any type of just, repeatable routines that you guys are doing within FUB on the seller side.
And the seller says, go ahead.
I think we just, in office hours yesterday was really great, which is super beneficial. I think everybody should join. But we were just going over the Barry's smart lists, automations for the new seller. experience. And I made sure, those are, copied those over, went through, looked through, edited those. And that's because I'm a solo agent. I don't have all these, huge people that I can hire, assistants, all this stuff. And what's so helpful and beneficial is because of this community, and Barry and Gabe are just like, here it is. And you just go copy and make it your own. I mean, it's like, I didn't have to create these plans, and I didn't have to pay somebody to type these up. And I mean, that's how it's made possible.
100%.
I love that. And to all of your credits too. And there's a lot of people that contribute at office hours and all that. And I think Barry and I get the privilege of a lot of times being front and center to help pull that out and piece it together for you guys. But one, kudos I want to give to the three of you, and I would encourage a lot of people watching this or attending this or watching it back, is I also see your faces on there a fair amount. I saw your faces when we had the cash offer training that we're now doing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Andi, I think what you were saying, and another one of yours, and saying this for you guys, I guess, but repeatable routine is you guys are showing up to the trainings and then implementing some of the stuff that
100%.
we're putting out there for you guys. So you don't have to take the time to create it or pay for it,
Yeah.
but you're implementing it.
Yeah.
100%.
And 100%. And if you're not going to those meetings, I know you can't make it every day, but seriously, I can't talk enough about Matt Grittel. He's taught me everything I know about Ylopo. He hasn't taught me everything he knows, unfortunately, but seriously, then you should make it a point of going 2 or 3 times a week. I learn something new every time, and I've been going to them for months. I swear to God. So.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to add on here. Sorry, Andrew. A soapbox too is you guys aren't just there though, camera off. You guys are there asking questions, raising hands, volunteering. So kudos to you, because I think that's what really brings that together versus logging in and camera off and no sound and then doing something else, right? You guys are
Well, and Gabe, how long have you been in the real estate industry?
a long time, 21 years now.
Okay, so
How
I
many?
started when I was 18. So that's like 8 years.
Yeah.
No, but really like 25 years. And the consultant, before Ylopo, when I would do consultant work, my rate of pay was thousands of dollars an hour. And Gabe's is the same. He would never say it publicly, but it was. And one of the things that we decided to do when we worked for Ylopo was to focus our day and our time pouring into the Ylopo community. And so Andi and Jim and Chris, they're attending these realtor in residence calls. Right now, I think in the month of April, we're launching the new training calendar every day at 12 o'clock Eastern time. A lot of us, or some of us, are on those midday calls. It previously was Matt on Monday and Tuesday. Now it's going to be a mixture of Gabe and I, but we're on there answering questions, pouring into you guys. And Gabe, can you promote Elle to a panelist real quick? So, because there's a lot of requests for links, and that way she can, yeah.
Elle's getting a promotion. One promotion coming up.
I'll add to what you're saying there, Barry, that maybe this is something you don't realize, but a lot of my scripts come from those calls, and they're not necessarily exactly what you're saying, but I hear things in between the lines.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're not on those calls, you need to be. Seriously, if you think Ylopo, people say Ylopo's expensive. The value that you get, all these calls, all this learning. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. And real estate always changed. Technology always changed. So this week it was, about the sellers 2.0 experience, but then next week it's about, something else. And every single time there are takeaways and something I learned. It could be something Livia's shared on her screen of something Barry said, something Matt gave. And I'm sitting here writing down in notes, and it's not just writing. You can't even see my notes from yesterday's, but it's then implementing them. And I sat here after the office hours yesterday, and I go through, I'm copying over the action plans. I'm going through, turning them on, editing them. But just being able to have that, I mean, just makes it to where solo agents are, we're able to do this. I mean, yeah. And they, like you were saying, Jim, everybody says, oh, it's too expensive. And I just got somebody comment or messaging me on Facebook. We were going to do it and it's so expensive. I'm like, you have no idea. Like,
Right.
you have no idea what all that you get and can use. And then the ever stuff that's changing and adding, and the tech gets better, and they're not like, oh, well, we added this and it's going to be another $1,000. No, we added
Right.
this for you to use. It's included always, always. And it's just, how it's made possible.
It's a value.
for
It's a
agents.
value.
Hey, Andy, there's something in
Yeah.
there I'd like to pull out if possible. You
Yeah.
mentioned after the calls, you sit and do what?
It was an I word, I think.
Yeah. And how long does that take you? But after the calls, you sit and you implement things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how long does that take you?
I mean, well, because I copied them from Barry. I mean, literally it was like clicks, and I went through and read, and because he's like, some of these may not work in your market. I went through and read. I'm like, yeah, they're good. I mean, not even.
Right.
That took me so long to figure out, embarrassingly enough, that I put an extra 10 minutes in my schedule after the calls.
Yeah.
And that drives
Oh.
my bottom line.
Right.
I noticed, I can tell you, and tracking our numbers, that it was April of last year that I started doing that. And I had the best May of my career.
Wow.
That was awesome.
But through the
Wow.
meetings, Gabe said something the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and I'm changing my drip campaigns to what he's saying during the meeting. So
And we all do it for each other, right? I mean, literally, was it day before yesterday? A couple of the processes from Chris on cash offer. And if you guys aren't showing those cash offer trainings, you should, because Chris is sharing stuff on there that's working. I think you said at the beginning, what have you done already with cash
I
offers?
have 2 in contract. I don't even have access to Zelio yet. But I have found investor agents in my office that are, and one of them knocked on my door this morning and said, hey, do you have any more of those?
Yeah. And he's like, here's my process. Here's what I'm doing, and here's what I'm saying.
I shared that repeatable routine yesterday, and I think somebody took it and is doing something with it. So I'm sure it'll be available soon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I took it, but I was putting it in my own stuff. I don't know if I gave it to anywhere in my but I'll be working it in with I know that Netter's on here. He's got some of that as well. So to make it visible, and to what you were saying with Andy and implementing, right? And it's not even implement all your notes, right? You're taking notes, you're getting ideas, which ones help solve or potentially help solve one of your pains, right?
100%.
And just start with one of those. It doesn't have to be all. Don't make it
right.
overwhelming. And it sounds like that's what each of you have done, and found things for your particular business as a solo agent that helps solve a pain to give you back time.
It's the Rubik's Cube, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make one change at a time.
Hey, and if you think Ylopo's expensive, go find yourself a lender partner. Seriously. I mean, people say, "Oh, how do
What
I
did that
do that?"
conversation look like, though, Jim? How
What
did
that
you do that?
conversation look like? It's like, hey, we do this thing with Ylopo. We advertise. You can be part of it. Let me show you how. I'll put a link in the chat because I just sent them this, the lender partner information. Every lender and their brother wants to talk to you as a realtor anyway. Go interview them. Say,
You
look, I'm
used the
looking.
lender partner Zendesk article. That's amazing.
And you say, you just say, hey, listen, I'm looking for a lender. There's my go-to lender. Will you partner with me? I need for you to help me with my advertising. You'll be branded on everything. And bam, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was actually really funny about it, we're all kind of laughing, but we're talking about taking notes and then implementing and then figuring it out. But hey, someone's been done click of a button. I didn't even think about it to that depth. Like Elle and her team and the CSMs, a lot of these times when we're coming up with items, they're taking a lot of the stuff that we're all sharing, putting it in the knowledge base, summarizing to make it even easier. So there's a lot of that when you can't make it every day is in there. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Something
Hey,
that
that help center is incredible. If you're not using Zendesk Help Center for Ylopo, you're missing out on a lot of information. Really, seriously. If you can't make it to office hours, then you should be using that for sure. Everything is in there.
Yeah. What I do for my own team is I go to Google. Like, let's say they're like, Barry, how do I use the heat map? I go to Google, I type in Ylopo, heat map report, Zendesk. I'm not kidding. That's all you do. Just go to Google because it's all indexed in Google, and anything you need within the Ylopo ecosystem, as long as you know what it's called, which can be hard sometimes. We have a naming issue, I think, but once you know what it's called, you can just go to Google, Ylopo, Zendesk, and the name of the item, and it's all indexed. And that's what I've been doing for years.
Type it in here, like Zendesk, Zendesk, Zendesk. It's all
Yeah.
the top articles that might be relating to heat map, however you want to spell it, however you put it in there. It just literally just puts all of those right towards the top. You don't even have to remember.
And I think
the
if we
link.
had a normal name, like, I don't know, like lead conversion tools or something, if that was the Ylopo name,
Yeah. I
it
mean,
might not
I
work. But
saved
the
the help
fact that it's
center link
Ylopo.
right into Zendesk in a folder for Ylopo links, the things that I need. The master class is in
Okay.
here, right? But if you forget, we all got Google, right? Throw it in there. It helps. I think we answered this, and I think I saw Jay, maybe Netter could answer this in chat as well. But anonymous attendee asked, getting the lending partner, which we just talked about Zendesk. But I also believe that if you do have a lending partner that's interested, I believe, I wouldn't over speaking, that the sales team will also jump on and do kind of redo a demo or kind of show them how it works to
Yeah.
help you have the conversation.
Absolutely.
So you can even tag Ylopo back in to help you with that. So go check out the Zendesk article, have the conversation, but lean on us. That's the marketing team, the sales team. It's not just up front when you guys sign up, but if you want to bring in some of these vending partners, still lean on us as a community to help you get that.
100%. That's exactly what they did with my lending partner.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
So many questions, guys. We're gonna have to do another one of these. I hope you would allow us to have you back.
Oh,
Happy to
we
do
need
it.
to start doing some. We need to start doing some rapid fire questions, Gabe. There's like
Yeah.
10 questions.
Yeah, I'm going through now. Okay, so Byron asked, seems like text campaigns could conflict with rAIya. Do you guys have thoughts on that?
Yes. Know what rAIya is doing, write your scripts to complement it. While there is the possibility of conflict, there is such a larger possibility of making this beautiful piece that will make you stand out. Just know what you're doing and know what it's doing and make sure that they're lined up.
And remember, they come from two different numbers, right? So
Yeah, I was going to add there too. So we'd also be kidding ourselves if we think that the person who just registered on our site are only getting text from us, so that we'd want to limit to one. You're going to have some overlap, and it's okay, right? If they're willing to be in enough places to where they're getting communicated by 5 or 6 people, I would like as many of those slots that they're willing to have until they say stop or talk to someone. I want as many of those to be me, and it could be text campaign, rAIya, and me as the solo agent, and they're having that. It just take up those spots. We all have our limit. How many of those spots can we fill up internally leveraging our tech?
it's all in perspective, right? Do you feel like you're bugging them or you feel like you're giving them love, right?
I love that. Okay, so John asked, what is your feeling or process when someone, I think, responds to rAIya with stop? Are you still calling? Are you letting it go? What's a good practice?
Apologize.
100%. Still call. I mean, and it's just, yeah, it's as simple as, hey, I'm sorry. I just wanted to call and apologize for my assistant reach out. She just really tries to help me to make sure we are helping, who needs to be helped or answering questions. And then a lot of times like, oh, it's okay. I was at work and my phone was ringing and my office phone, and I just said stop, but I'm glad you called now that I have a minute, and I mean, it's opened up the conversation times than it has not.
Yep.
100%.
I'm a little different answer on that question, actually. I still reach out, but it's text and email. And
Okay.
I ask permission to call. And then, because I'm a single agent, and so I don't have time to call everybody. And I'm going to prioritize. And so I just have a different repeatable routine for when that happens versus when it doesn't happen.
I love that you did that. And again, and Barry and I have like a lot of similarities, but also some different. And I think you find out what is your style, what do you like, but
Exactly.
what you both have is that process, repeatable routine that you're sticking with, right? So that's what I love, and why if we just wanted one opinion on everything, we would just have mine. but because we also need the second best ones, we bring Barry in, and then we want other voices as well. So we like having
Of
different ways.
course, you wait till my camera's off.
Of
I'm just
course,
kidding.
of course. Let's see, another one that came in here, Richard. What do you do with your priority leads when they're coming back in? What are your best practices, priority alerts coming in? What are you guys doing?
I am happy to share all of this. I have a different repeatable routine for every single one. And I address it the way, this was probably the largest chunk of time. But I sat down and said, every week I'm going to master one, just break off one piece of the Rubik's Cube, right? So like hand raisers, for example, are higher priority than a Y priority alert. And so I started with hand raisers and then said, okay, when someone does this, what in a perfect world, in a vacuum, what would I do? Write it down analog, then run it a few times, then get with Matt and say, hey, I need an automation for this.
Right. Yeah. So, all right, another version of that. How about Andy, Jim, as far as priority alerts? Because there are a lot, right? Especially as our databases grow. What is your
Right.
process or repeatable routine? What are your recommendations?
I'm all about calling people, really following up one-on-one with any hand raiser. What do you need? How can I help? Servant to them, right? So
Yep. Yeah. Andy?
I have always, I know sometimes it gets hard to like make the phone calls. The system, if you use the system and you work the leads, it works. We're all, proven of that, and we could prove that. And I know every single day it's like, gosh, I'm having to call again, but I just mentally tell myself it's one call closer to a deal. I mean, it's all a numbers game. You have to make so many calls for so many people to answer for these people. And so I'm like, I just sit here and I'm like, man, I'm calling and I've called her 10 times and she's not answering. I'm like, well, if she doesn't answer again, it's one phone call down closer to the next deal. And yes, priority alerts. I have it in my smart list. I
Right.
call,
That's what I wanted to
text,
hear.
check off the priority alert. And so that way, if it happens again, they're back in my list. And I call, text, and then there's so many text templates. You can be like, hey, do you want to see? And you last viewed in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you said something there that is a habit you've created. That's a repeatable routine, but and you said it, I want to make sure people heard it. But I want you to explain what you meant. So then I'm going to go check off that priority alert once you've addressed it. And then it just reappears. You said it because you do it so often, it's habit. What does that mean? What are you checking off?
So I use Follow Up Boss, and it's a tag in my Follow Up Boss that after I've paid attention to the lead, calling and texting, I check off the priority alert tag. So that way it's no longer in my list and I'm getting through my list. But then let's say in 5 hours or 5 days, she comes back and it pops up another tag. She's back in my list. And now I'm calling and texting her again. I'm letting the system in the back end retarget, remarket to her listing alerts. And when she triggers those alerts, it puts to my forefront. So then I call, but leveraging the system in the back end to do all of that for me and then bring them to the surface for me to call.
Right.
There you go. Yeah.
100% agree.
Because a lot of people
Right.
don't remove that tag. They address them, but then they come back in the next day or something happens and they get frustrated. But I don't think they have finished their actual process or routine saying, hey, thanks for letting me know, Ylopo, I did my call, we're good, or I got eyes on it, it's not needed with my time right now. Remove that priority tag. And when it happens again, it puts it back in. So you're leveraging
That's
the
right.
list and the tag. So I knew you knew what you meant. I just want to make sure people got the different steps there to create a process around this to not chasing.
You don't, your list will build up and it gets too overwhelming. You don't know who to follow up with. You don't know who's a recent priority tag. That could have been a 100-day-old priority tag. So by doing that, it keeps them at the forefront. Like these are the people that are active right now, or that's in the past day.
Yep.
And it helps you feel like you've made movement in your system because you got them out of your smart list. You cleared it out.
And I love this guy. So I'm gonna chime. Don't lose your thought there, Chris, because Amelia chimed in, and then I see Leslie agreed, and I think this is a big. Or is that where you're going?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, so Amelia, this is 2 shameless plugs. One, every other Thursday, I not super endorsed by Ylopo, just do it. I host as a Ylopo specific script call with my mentor. His name is Scott Carpenter from Cleveland. And we just get on every other Thursday and talk through scripts and actually practice them back and forth. And two is an upcoming thing. I am officially committing as of this call to starting a new TikTok account, and I'm going to be doing TikTok live Ylopo calls as part of my commitment to actually doing the calls. So soon enough, I'll post that in the success community that like, hey, I need followers so I can do that.
Yeah, I love that. And with his new TikTok, he didn't share this, but I saw some of the previews. He has a dance for every priority alert that he does, and it'll be
No.
on TikTok.
No, I'm not a TikTok dancer, but I do think that that as a single agent, I ask myself, what is the thing that I would have benefited most to learn quickly? And it's just watching other people do it, hanging out with other people who are doing it, and TikTok just happens to be the goal for that.
That's amazing. Yeah, Chris, that's amazing. I think that's going to help so many people. And Gabe, since we're short on time, I do want everybody to kind of like 2 minutes or less, or 3 minutes or less. If I was like, if we were at a coffee shop and I was telling you like, I don't get it. I'm struggling with Ylopo. I'm not really closing much. And you might just summarize stuff you guys have already said. So don't feel the urge to say it in a new way or whatever. Just like, what would you tell me if we were at a coffee shop and I was like, man, I'm really struggling. I'm not making any money. What would your advice be? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first because it's harsh, and I'll let somebody nicer than me be next. I
right.
would say, let me see what your calendar looks like. What's your time blocks look like? What's your commitments look like? You're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Oh
Okay.
gosh.
That's exactly right.
It's harsh, but that was very candid,
It's
right? True.
spot on. For me, it's
All
make
right.
the calls. For me, it's always been like Kiwi, when we first got involved, he looked at our follow-up boss and said, Jim, you gotta call these people. And it's like, ding. And now I just fully embrace the 10 days to profit. New lead comes in.
Yeah.
We touch them 10 times. I can't say it enough. Call the leads. It used to be you needed 8 to 10 contact points. Now they're saying you really need 15 to 20 contact points before you really get a hold of somebody. And don't think you're bothering them, because more people who are really, really serious come back to you and say, geez, thank you for sticking with me. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to get back to you. Do it.
I had a mentor tell me once that if you're afraid of bothering people, you would never go to a grocery store.
Right. You follow up until they take a restraining order out on you.
100%. I have been through real estate, ups and downs, roller coasters. I've been there where it's like, starting out struggling. It's in the financial aspect of it. And I have seen it firsthand. You follow the system, you do it, it will work. It does work. The same thing Jim just said. I mean, I've just the other day, I had one of 6 months went by and he's like, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I've ignored you. I haven't responded to you. I was busy, blah, 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 but now I'm ready. I just got a listing from somebody that's been in my database for 7 years, an investor, and he had it listed with another agent. He canceled, came to me, and he's like, you know what? I don't know why I didn't go with you. You have emailed me and contacted me and listing alerts for 7 years. And you have always stuck in my head, and we need this property sold. And I'm literally getting it listed. And he's like, I don't know why, like, thank you for sticking with me. Like, I've appreciated the value of the emails. And do you think I'm doing that manually? No, it's Ylopo. I'm like, yeah, that's good. I'm glad that my systems are working. And that has happened more times than not. Even like, oh, I appreciate
That's
your
awesome.
assistant reaching out. And I mean, it just hand over hand tells me this is why I'm so successful. I give all the credit all day long to, and then this community has always helped me. I reach out to them, I ask them questions, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this, is because I bugged Barry, I bugged Gabe. They literally took time out of their day when I first started, helped me. They still do. And this is my part of giving back, because they gave to me, and I know other people need it. And if you stick with it and you do it, consistently, consistent is key, it will pay off.
I love that.
Such
and I
great answer.
guarantee
100%,
you-
Andy.
Yeah, I love that. I guarantee you've bugged me a lot less than Barry, so I appreciate that. So, sorry.
Probably
Gotta
true.
get one more in before
Kyle,
Sure.
I'll get that into the Facebook group. It's automatically posted every week.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of these things in here, like we're gonna get help with smart lists. Where can I get some of this, guys? They mentioned, and maybe we can repost the links because things disappear. L or team, whoever, guys. There's training almost every single day. We have a training team. So please reach out to your success manager or support and tell them that you want this. The group trainings, a lot of times they're throwing all the links in here, guys. It'll be in the replay. Do what Andy, Chris, and Jim have done. Take these tools and resources though and put them to work for you, right? You have to take that first step in there. They're here. We want to help. And there's list training, there's the automations, there's all of this. And some of it you might have in there and you didn't know. Sorry, they're trying to wrap up a lot of these. I saw somebody's with some of the key drip campaigns and stuff like that. Great, but make sure you know what's turned on, what's not turned on. Check those tags. It's not a one size fits all, even for 3 solo agents crushing it, right? They're all a little bit different. Please make sure that you're checking those things. And the last one that I'm going to shut up and give you guys the last few minutes is Summit. If you're like, man, this is great, but I learned better, hands-on, face-to-face, in the weeds, want to talk to people and see this, and we can throw the link in there. We're going to be in Austin on May 6th and
6th and 7th. Yeah.
May 6th and 7th.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
show up.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Yeah, and definitely show up. You guys will love it. We've really dialed into content. I also just want to say thank you to Andy, Jim, and Chris. The people on this webinar were so engaged and asking so many questions. I actually texted the vice president of client success at Ylopo, Elle. You can see she's a panelist now, and I said, "Hey, man, the people that are on this webinar are getting so much help right now, and they're asking for clarity on links." I said, "Can you have someone?" Elle's like, "I got it." And so she's on this webinar right now. She'll be teaching as well at Summit. But I just wanted to say thank you to the 3 of you for doing the work, for showing up, for almost giving up, for being discouraged and not giving up. It's commendable. It's something that I think in all of our, no matter what size of our business, what station of life we're in, we all face those moments, and you guys represent people that are digging in and doing the work and not giving up. And now hundreds of people and another probably thousands that are going to watch the recording are all being inspired by your efforts. And so I just want to say like how inspired I am to dig in, and how much I appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy days to pour into the community. It really means a lot.
Oh, Barry, flattery will get you everywhere.
Yes.
I will say I am a real estate nerd. I love talking, especially scripts, language, systems. My DM box is always open. You're welcome to get on my calendar. But in closing, I'll say one of the things that when we were talking about how expensive this is or it isn't, if you feel bad for reaching out to these guys, just think of part of your Ylopo bill as you're paying for a coach. I have no problem texting Barry and saying, "Hey, I have a problem. This is my problem. What would you do?" Because I'm paying for a coach.
Yeah.
Or Gabe, but
That's
usually
exactly
I text Barry.
absolutely
Sorry, Gabe.
No, totally fine.
Awesome.
Hey, Elle.
Go ahead. I was gonna say any parting words. Hi, there's Elle. Or
No, hello. I don't know why
Angelina.
I'm Angelina. That caused a lot of, Ange, if you're on, I used your link and I think it renamed me. No, thanks. I'm sorry I was late and crashed the party, but so glad I could catch the last half of this. So grateful for all of the awesome events that you guys are putting on. I just think the webinar content lately has been really engaging and exciting, and it's nice to see so many new faces. And to Barry and Gabe's point, I hope to meet many of you at Summit here in just about a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really, really
It was a
wow,
game
it's really a
changer
month
for me.
away.
Yeah, it's gonna be incredible. We're a minute over, but all the same sentiments. And parting words for the 100 and some. We're still over 100 people here. Before you guys depart, if you want another session like this, solo agent, small teams, Chris, Jim, Andy, all that, jump into chat, say yes, thumbs up. whatever it is.
There it is. It's blowing up,
'cause
guys.
again,
Told
we
you.
want to bring you guys what you guys want. So
hope
thank
it
you guys
helps.
again,
Thank you,
everything you
everyone.
guys said. Really appreciate it. More to come. And we'll see you guys all probably on the next training.
Take care.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
See you. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Go
Bye-bye.
make some calls.